Hello there, commanders, and welcome to the finals of the War Games Institute tournament number 2. And also, let's maybe address the fact that it is number 2, right? I haven't addressed it in the previous videos. So, it is number 2 because the first tournament was restricted to Chinese teams only. At least that's what we have been told, and then half of the teams ended up being not from China anyway. So, yeah, I don't know how that really worked. But anyway, here we are on Salernum, the SUNTZU map of choice. This time against White Wolves rather than the War Games Institute team that we have faced in the previous battle, in the previous match rather. And also that team, or at least many players that were on that team, also made it to the finals in the previous tournament, so it was definitely a high ranking match. So, now we have pretty much a repeat of what happened in the last time. Cavalry captures Watchtower from the opposing team, and SUNTZU gets on top of it. Blindon has deployed 2 Studios and is not moving for some reason. But anyway, White Wolves have knowledge that a huge push from SUNTZU is incoming, and they are looking to counter it with an equally big force. And the archers are definitely positioned very well to counter Mistrzu's javelinmen. Speaking of which, let's disable this so we can have a better view. And let's look at the city here. Solkung and LTIA. Since Max has been fired after friendly firing Mistrzu's javelins, that is definitely what happened. It's not like he was unavailable or anything. So, city is now right now calm. C looks to be absolutely free, not contested at all. Well, that is because SUNTZU doesn't have vision in there, so maybe let's fix that. There we go, that's better. There's only one unit on top of C from the White Wolves. The main engagement is happening here around B. Mistrzu finds some really nice damage onto Drave's dogs. A volley in the back obliterates half of his dogs. And archers are disrupted by Mished's elephants and Quo's cavalry. That being said, elephants can't really do that much against archers, and Mistrzu kind of forgot about them, and he is now suffering the same fate as Game of Thrones writers, which is huge suffering and a lot of pain. There we go. He finally hides inside tall grass, but that is not good enough, as he's most likely hunted and cannot hide inside tall grass anymore, or anywhere for that matter. Only outside of the range. So now, Tony is now forced away by Mished again and his elephant. Quo has also disengaged as the archers are undefended. Ravroch is trying to get his cavalry in there to intercept Quo. Can he do it? Quo lines up the charge around the building. You cannot really charge around the corner, and Ravroch's cavalry has mostly made it in time. But the pressure from SUNTZU has been strong enough. Mistrzu is now doing the only thing he can be useful for, and routing enemy units in melee after dying to archers. And elephants and cavalry are preventing any healing that could happen here on point B. Point B is now cleared by SUNTZU. Blinton is charging out to prevent the dogs from getting in, from the handlers from getting in, but he misses his charge, or the dogs actually dodge it, get on over the point, but only very briefly. Now IMF and Rex are trying to do the same, get on over the point before it is secured by SUNTZU. Dogs are now routed, shattered, there we go. B is now in the process of being captured. Mistrzu tries to provide some damage and friendly fire, but most importantly B is now captured, and all the forces from SUNTZU here can heal while White Wolves are on the run. This has a really nice advantage going forward, 3.9 points per second. C is contested and not yet captured. It is almost captured, but Quo and Solkung and LTI have made their way on top of C just in time. D is not contested at all, and Solkung and LTA are making some advances in the city as well, as they're faced by Kure, Drave and Sin. Morhun and Ravroch are respawning here, Drave as well with his dogs. They were all on the top fighting there, so now they have transitioned into the city. It is a race for C, as Quo is now almost cut down, and it doesn't look like anything from SUNTZU can get on top of C in time to prevent and keep contesting it. There we go, C is now locked, and that is advantage to... Well, still SUNTZU. D is being contested, LTI versus Cure. Solkung has his pikes in here, but those are going to be largely countered by Drave's dogs. Let's see, there we go, no pike phalanx, no shield bash coming out, so Solkung is going to die here to Cure. He tries to disengage, but it's not going to help. Ravage also has come in here with 3 of his cavalry units. Tries to charge through his own units. That doesn't really work. Not anymore, at least. Since a very ancient patch, sometime in wargaming. But anyway, D is being contested, so SUNTZU still has an advantage in points, but only 2.2 per second versus 2.0, so it's not much, and SUNTZU has only amassed 300 points of advantage. So, SUNTZU now descends from the hill after healing. There we go, funny wordplay. Oh yeah, there is a caster actually here, so there is some actually experience sharing going on, let's say. So White Wolves are at a disadvantage in this battle, but that will be reversed for the next battle, so ultimately makes it kind of fair, although not really. They should have been just 2 casters or 2 observers to make it equal. But hey, that's me. I'm not organizing this tournament, I'm just actually participating, which is also something new, because since I was pretty much the only one to organize any tournaments during the wargaming era, I could never participate. So now I can finally participate after such a long time. So there we go. Let's see how Rusty Mistru performs. Okay, hiding the Togris, providing some nice damage, supporting the melee engagements, but cannot really find his place. Archers are still far away, but they're not being stopped, they're not being pressured. LTIA is almost dead on top of D, so it is not going to hold for long. Solkung's last unit of pikes is also being chased down by dogs, and is going to soon be finished. Now archers are approaching. C is now contested by Quo, but it's still not good enough. There are also no units close or on top of the healing zone, so healing cannot be denied. Arcleon and Mishad almost getting themselves routed. Arcleon, I think, was briefly routed. Mishad now using determination to prevent any morale loss. And Mistru is still hiding here in tall grass, staying undetected. Now he takes his chance, sneaks through, no hunt has been applied, so the gambit has paid off. But still cannot get close enough to the enemy melee infantry, or he will just be exposed the conventional way, and that is what happens. He gets focused by archers, but archers also got charged by Quo, so Quo is saving Mistru's ass as much as he can, but Mistru still manages to get himself killed again. Now Blinton manages to push 1 unit through to the healing zone, but it is too little too late, as Morhund has spawned all 3 units of his in there. Rex is also looking to intercept him. He's playing Scipio infantry, so Mistru is getting in close enough, finds a nice volley into Morhund, but is still not being close enough to actually deny any healing. SUNTZU, all the time when they want to contest C, they need to retreat all the way back here on top of the hill to heal again. God damn it, those 2 words could really use some different pronunciation, but anyway. Arcleon has managed to get on top of C, and SUNTZU actually looks to be in a little bit of an advantage on top of the point. 3 units that are almost dead. Antonio Mackey's Hannibal's Spears, Morhund's Armored Legionaries on Caesar that are full HP, but it's the only unit full HP, and here oft Scipio infantry with just 1 soldier staying alive. There we go, he finally gets routed. Blinton now charges into Antonio Mackie. Boy is going to provide some flanks, but while it is good, it is not enough, and Rav Rage approaches. Boy is going to charge out to prevent him from getting into the point, but it is Chinese cavalry versus Scipio. Scipio can oath, but it's also 3 versus 1. So while he can stop 2 units from getting into the point, he cannot do that to all 3. And White Wolves infantry, Sin and Cure, are also approaching from multiple angles. On top of C, cavalry charges in into Arcleon and Blinton. Mistru forced to run away. He cannot heal. The heal is quite far away, and the healing zone for White Wolves is still up and running. Blinton, Cheddar and Mishad are trying their best to get on top of it, and looks like they'll finally find some success. Tony, after getting his archers killed, respawns in here and manages to run away just in time. Rex is also spawned in, or rather healed up his units, SUNTZU were a little bit too late. But now multiple units of dogs are incoming. Blinton as well with his Germanicus swords. Ravage tries to save the healing point, comes with his cavalry, decides not to charge, changes his mind, goes here, maybe prevent Cheddar from getting on top of the archers. But archers are not going to be very useful here, as White Wolf's infantry looks to just get control of point C entirely on their own. So while the healing zone is finally being denied, C point is not being contested with enough numbers. LTA tries to get in, but those are only 3 units that have no entrance to point C anyway. Sokol in the meantime has sent one of his pike units on top of D looking to contest it. They're being chased by dogs. That will mean that he will not be able to get into pike phalanx, and the dogs and Kyr's infantry that are present in here are going to obliterate that half-dead unit anyway. Sin is also getting in here, maybe adding just insult to injury, doesn't even need to. LTA tries to get to the point, doesn't manage to do it. Cheddar though managed to do it, so there is some hope, there are some openings. Archers are being now chased away by Cheddar, so he isn't contesting point anymore. What about the javelins? Javelins have now just healed up, so they're quite far away, so they're not going to really benefit from those archers being put under pressure. Healing zone at C is still being denied, but White will still have a very nicely positioned healing zone quite closely in the city. So SUNTZU, while still keeping their point advantage, they're still losing 2 points per second, or they're getting 2 points per second to just 3.3 points per second for White Wolves. White Wolves are slowly clawing back the 300 disadvantage in points that they had from the beginning of the battle. But all being said, SUNTZU, while for 90 healing and contesting D just a little bit with those spikes, have managed to keep most of the forces of White Wolves away from point C. Can they now get it? The units on top of the healing zone have been routed by the spawning units. The healing might be a little bit denied, but the spawning isn't, and the elephant has been cut down. Mishit's other infantry unit has been routed. Cheddar is now getting in. He is Guan Yu, so he doesn't have access to any charge. So it just needs a few units to hold in front, and the units in the back can heal. But that would be the case if not for Mistress Javelins that can deny healing. But they're only there's only so much they can do when they're not being protected. There's a shit ton of infantry from White Wolves and very little infantry from SUNTZU to keep Mistress protected and able to shoot the units that are trying to heal. That being said, the healing has been denied for the large part. What about the point itself? LTA and Haxor are pushing in. LTA and Mishet as well in here, but a lot of units are close to being dead, and archers are supplying their help in here, finding a very strong volley into Mistru, who needs to go inside the tall grass and hide. He cannot provide any support on top of the point, but he has plenty of units and targets to shoot on top of the healing zone, or rather next to the healing zone, as the healing itself is not going to be denied, and all those units, all the damage that Mistru dealt is now going to be negated. All he gets is just a little bit of XP, which doesn't amount to much anymore with the most recent patch. But javelins themselves have been a little bit buffed, so there is that hope. Beaton now desperately tries to push through the enemy Morhun's infantry and get out of the healing, prevent his other unit from getting healed, but it is not going to be successful as he gets surrounded. And despite being surrounded, he is not flanked. There we go, Germanicus, that guy is really unflankable, right? And unroutable. That being said, Ravage has sent his cavalry on top of B. They are facing Blinton and Quo. It looks pretty equal in terms of HP, but obviously infantry is going to perform better against cavalry. And that is also just Chinese cavalry and not Scipio that cannot oath. So while they're performing better in charges than the melee, their survivability is largely limited due to not being Scipio. And while SUNTZU had a little bit of hope of getting C in the past, now all that is gone. Mistru is still providing some help here with 2 units. He had to retreat the third one back to heal. So there we go. Sokol is trying to deny to push through and get on top of the healing zone, but he is going to get himself routed. No, hold the line prevents him from routing. He drops a flank, and just one flank is not enough. Mistru now again forced to run away, and C is under control of White Wolves. And SUNTZU is neither denying the healing zone nor contesting the point. They're contesting D, but that is also looking quite grim. And White Wolves are slowly but surely clawing back the point disadvantage they are still at the moment, but it's not going to last for long. So SUNTZU needs something to happen, some kind of mistake or some kind of outplay to happen from either side. Or is now getting in, maybe tries to find some miracle flanking, but that is not how it is going to work. Morhun is in there, buffed by Caesar, or by himself. Rex is in here as well, but not in Oath. And what about IMF? So Lion Infantry, there we go, now he's buffed by Caesar pretty nicely. But Vici is no longer, sorry, not Vici, Veni. That change in icons really is confusing me. I'm still very used to the sword being Vici. But either way, now White Wolves are very confident in their advantage and now are trying to push up the hill towards B. They send cavalry and trying to attack from behind. Jerav is going to be able to counter that. Blinton is also positioning himself in the middle, not really doing anything though. So that cavalry, while not applying the pressure directly, it is preventing multiple units from SUNTZU side from actually fighting the front lines. Archers have now arrived, trying to counter Mistru. He's trying to dodge, trying to hide in Blinton's Studa maybe, but none of that is working, and Mistru is now running away, getting the watchtower. As SUNTZU decides they need vision, Mistru is going to sacrifice one of his units to do that. The other two keep pushing, as archers have been pushed back a little bit, but Mistru nonetheless is still very much in the range. Tries to hide inside a forest, but he still doesn't know how the vision works, so he gets shot. But SUNTZU now have a little bit of infantry advantage in this skirmish between point B and C, but the point C healing zone is still much closer than the healing zone that is available to SUNTZU. That is going to play in an advantage of White Wolves, and now as the points are no longer contested, neither C nor D are being contested. It's 3.3 points per second again for White Wolves. They're gaining back 1 point per second, 1.3 point. God damn it. That doesn't really work. It's tickets actually, so yeah, it does have a different name. The correct name actually. The actual name. But either way, now SUNTZU's javelins have been forced away back to hill by the archers. And the push towards the healing zone is continuing as SUNTZU is desperate to find a point that they can contest or capture. LTA has pushed towards D, and White Wolves have responded with 4 units of their own inside the city to try to counter that, but they're not pursuing LTA, that is now trying to get on top of C. But Sin, IMF and Drave are in here all to counter LTA and will not let him get on top of the point. Archers are also firing in to chip in some damage onto LTA, but that is not going to amount to much. Ravridge, the mid, have found some opportunity to contest the point, but he's not going to be able to do that for long as Solkung is pushing him away with his pike phalanx. Mishu has now respawned in together with Mishet, who's trying to get some healing. He spawned back his elephant. SUNTZU have returned to using elephants after the previous battle, but it's still not looking very good for them. That healing zone is still very close for White Wolves and still not denied, and SUNTZU forces are slowly but surely getting depleted. Now they're trying to launch an attack from the other side. LTI has already done that, but has been stopped in his tracks. And Arcanon is now looking to join him, but will he be able to turn that engagement around or not? That is the question. Michu's javelins are approaching, getting inside the tall grass, trying to get unspotted, firing into Rex, finding some friendly fire into Solkung as well, as he is in pike phalanx but got himself flanked. But Michu gets too close to Rex's infantry and gets spotted, and that is an opportunity that Tony is using and immediately barrages Michu. He managed to dodge most of it. One of his units is close to death, so close to being dead, so he'll need to retreat that one, but the other two may remain. They have been hunted, so hiding in Fog of War is not going to work for Michu. What is going to work is maybe that elephant from Mishet that is going to put some pressure on the archers to try them at least get busy and shoot something else. Not really working though, as Michu is still getting targeted here by the archers despite being in tall grass. That hunt is working wonders, but Arcleon actually has managed to push through together with LTIA. And D now is undefended. There were multiple forces at D, but instead of actually pursuing Arkin and attacking him from behind, they decided all to go and capture the base. Quo is already contesting D, that is undefended. And Q has walked on top of the base. There we go, those are going to be 4 units trying to capture the base. And SUNTZU need both D and C flipped in order to prevent the base from being captured, or they need to recall. Let's see what they will decide to do. White Wolves are actually... Yor has decided to go back and defend D while Sin continues to push. Yor is sending only 1 unit back to D. They must have realized that it must only be cavalry, as nothing else could really make it there. So 1 unit would be enough to contest. But it is far enough that maybe it will not make it in time. So 3 units still capturing. And point D and C need to only be flipped. They don't need to be captured. So point D is going to be flipped. And they need to hold point C in order to still be able to keep capturing the SUNTZU base, which with only Rex alive in here. He is in oath, but that is just about it. He is still surrounded and being fired at. Can he be flanked? He needs 1 more flank being applied. Now even that won't help, so Mr. what are you doing? No, he needs to go down below 10 models, then he can get routed. Okay, Mr. realizes that. There we go, he must be listening. It's like, we must have something in common, me and Mr. But either way, C is now being captured, rather being in the process of being flipped. Cure actually has managed to made it in time for in order to contest D, but he didn't prevent it from being flipped. And now as both C and D have been flipped, C even has been captured. The force that was capturing the SUNTZU base is now entirely useless. That was a huge mistake from the White Wolves team, and SUNTZU capitalized on it very nicely. Mr. is also supporting some engagement here over at B as White Wolves try to contest it. They try to contest B, try to capture the base, try to essentially decentralize, force SUNTZU to spread their units, but SUNTZU said, nah, we're just gonna capture C and almost capture D. So now let's see how the D capture is going to go through. C has recalled all the way back to the base with his units. Of his unit, third I guess was brought back, or maybe it was somewhere else that also wasn't engaged. Mishet already on top of A with his elephant, while D is still being contested. There's still 1 full unit of Cure in there, but Quo and Mishet are going to look to secure D for themselves, as there is nowhere near that White Wolves could spawn in, and Archeon could prevent IMF from getting in as well. Mishet drawing a lot of attention by just standing with an elephant on top of a point that isn't even able to be contested. But Mistru is coming in with javelins, and instead he tries to apply a flank again. Mistru, you're not a melee unit. Hello? There we go. And, flanking system in arena. In a nutshell, there we go. Anyway, unit disengages that when the flank gets applied. But the result is D being captured in favor of Team SUNTZU, and now SUNTZU again have 6.0, or not again in this battle, but they have 6.0 points per second, and now White Wolves are under very, very much pressure as the victory is inside of SUNTZU. So they are launching quite a huge attack onto B, just fighting some pretty decent damage onto these glaives that have exposed their back. C now being just stopped by a single unit of dogs. Ravage is going to get his cavalry on top of B, but can that amount to much as he is being chased down by Cheddar units? Can he get onto the point? Haxor is going to charge him. That will force Ravage out of the point. And the attack that White Wolves have launched on top of B has largely been stopped in its tracks. And SUNTZU is going to drive the point advantage they have secured home. Oh, hi, Mr. Yeah, totally not being AFK here. Anyway, B would be contested if it was unlocked, so it is going to be contested in 15 seconds. C got contested, so SUNTZU point gain has dropped from 6.0 to 4.5, but it's still a very, very large point gain. B still not being contested. Cheddar and Haxor preventing the enemies from getting out of the point very nicely. There we go. D is being contested as my voice is also getting contested. But SUNTZU, without having B contested, is definitely looking to secure the victory, as they're just less than 100 points away from victory. Mishu is being AFK to celebrate. There we go, just last few volleys here on top of C, get some damage before the battle ends. And there we go, those are the results. Mishu somehow getting MVP and only one unit getting killed, 3 count. That guy played like a melee unit. And then Germanicus was the top damage dealer and killer. Well, there we go, that's the conclusion to this battle. SUNTZU wins 1-0 and advances to the next battle, where the map choice will be on the side of White Wolves, looking to get the revenge and equal the score and force a tiebreaker on Thermopylae. Will they be able to do that? Well, tune in for the next battle whenever it will be released, and until then, I'll see you in that new video when it releases, and until then I will see you on Arena's Battlefields, and also after that. That outro needs to be worked on. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. Haha, I'm such a good YouTuber. See ya.